seems to me to be kind of the theoretical model. Now, practically, I am not at all interested or concerned about androgyny. When you first started your question, you said men doing these feminine things. There's nothing feminine about nurturing and loving a child. That's a human trait, right? There is nothing feminine, there's nothing masculine about being confident and assertive and ambitious, as generations of women in the workforce have let us know. Those are human traits. I am not interested in degendering people. I'm not interested in androgyny. Feels kind of like oatmeal, like mushy. I'm interested in degendering traits and attitudes and behaviors. I'm interested in degendering that, not the people, okay? So there's nothing inherently, you know, the thing that gets under my skin the most is if I'm like, you know, when my son, who's now 10, when he was just, you know, when he was little and I would take him in the park with the stroller, people would say, oh, it's so nice these days to see a man expressing his feminine side. And I thought, no, this is my masculinity. This is what it means to be a human being. It's, you know, so that's the part that I feel that we need to look at. I'm not worried that I'm not worried, for example, that simply by sharing housework we'll become the same, but we will become more equal and, ironically, happier for it. Somebody, yeah.
I was wondering, when you were talking about the two measures for successful marriage, it was sort of on the male's part, I guess. It was how much time you spent with your child and how much housework you did.
Housework and childcare.
So if a couple doesn't have kids, is there other data that talks about what makes that marriage successful?
It's family work, family work time. So how much do you do in the home? The data is really aggregate data, and it's over a long period of time. So, you know, most of it is about housework and childcare. Now, here's something that's interesting, though. It turns out that in the past 20 years or so, men's share of housework and childcare. See, this is again how sociologists measure this stuff. We think of housework and childcare as a unit, right? The same. So that's what we measure. And if you look at housework and childcare as a unit, men's share has increased, but not that much. It's gone up some, but it hasn't like skyrocketed. But if you look at men's housework behavior alone, it hasn't gone up at all. But if you look at their child care behavior, it's gone way up. What that has meant is that in a lot of families these days, dad is becoming the fun parent. What I mean is, dad takes the kids to the park and plays soccer with them, while mom cooks the meals, makes the bed, does the laundry, and cleans the house. The kids come back and say, we had such a great time with dad. He's such a great parent. Because her work is utterly invisible. So that's a danger when you separate housework and childcare. But I think that that's an important piece, because we've always measured them as a unit. Yeah?
What about higher income families where
I'm sorry?
What about higher income families where everybody does less work or no work at all?
There are many ways to deal with housework and childcare. Upper income families tend to outsource most housework and childcare functions. So that's one thing. The other thing is that women's housework time, childcare has remained very high and constant over the past 10, 15 years. But women's housework participation has actually declined. Men's hasn't gone up very much, but women's has declined somewhat. That's simply a function of the fact that nobody has any time to do it. But upper income families basically, here's the thing that I guess is interesting. Class, of course, affects the ways in which couples or families allocate household tasks. For example, it might be of interest to know that working class men do more housework and childcare than middle class men. Now, middle class men have more liberal ideologies about it, but working class men don't see this as a political thing. They just work split shifts, and somebody's got to get the kids off to school, right? So black men, by the way, do more housework than white men. Same deal. It's a sort of raises the proxy for class in this case. Upper income people basically can afford to outsource some of it. I'm going to get some other questions first. Go ahead.
I was wondering if you would address the assumption about how women are supposed to want to get married and have children, and just maybe some of your thoughts on that.
I think what we're seeing is a gradual acceptance in our society. It's taking a very long time, longer than we might have predicted way back in those hippie days. But we're a gradual acceptance of a wide variety of parenting and family styles. So that we recognize, there's a significant percentage of people who don't have children. We still live in a natalist society in which the idea is everyone should want that, and those who don't, there's something a little bit suspect about them. With women, you're just too selfish. You're interested in putting your career first or something like that, and you have to learn to sacrifice. And for men, the same sort of thing. That's why men stay single for so long, because they're so selfish, because they don't want to commit to the responsibility of supporting a family. Those ideas came from are basically like mid-19th century ideas. Now so in some ways we're gradually becoming accustomed to that. I think we're the next phase of that is the kind of recognition. Look, I think it's incontestable. I know that this is it's a pretty depressing time in California for gay marriage. But let's 2 years ago, I said to my students, I won't live to see gay marriage in America, nationally, but you will. I now believe I will too. It's inevitable and it's coming soon. My thought, by 2020, right? That's how soon, because it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court. It's going to have to, right? So my sense is what we're getting to now is a sense that there's a lot of different packages in which love and care come. Okay? There's a lot of different, and so we're less interested in the form, and we'll be more interested in the content. What we know is that children, for example, need love, care, and support. People need community, love, care, support. It comes in a lot of different packages, right? The packaging is much less important than what's inside it, right? I think we're gradually coming to that, but it's taken a long time, a longer time than I thought it would.